So if your kid gets diagnosed with cancer, the hospital has the right to remove your authority as a guardian. If you say, I don't want my child to have chemo and radiation, they have the right to take you to court, take away your jurisdiction over your child so that they can administer chemo and radiation. And they will do it. I work with a family who is in the midst of dealing with this right now. And I know many others.
Which state?
All over the United States. There's one in Pennsylvania. There are several in Texas. But it happens all over Massachusetts. I know.
So if parents do not want this treatment for their child, they're going to be stripped of the parental rights?
Correct.
And the children will be forced to take chemo or radiation?
Correct. They'll do it with any treatment. So I worked with a family here in California. The daughter was diagnosed with a rare kidney condition, and the family wanted to seek some alternative treatments and kind of just lighten up on the treatment modalities that the hospital was recommended. The hospital took them to court, removed their parental rights, and forced the child to comply with what they had recommended.
What's then the result?
Luckily, I got involved with...
No, I mean, the girl is alive? She's fine?
So during that process, the mother contacted myself. I was able to get in contact with a doctor who could step in as an expert and take over primary care for that patient. So if you know the right attorneys and the right practitioners that can step in to start the process of advocacy, sometimes we can veer this case off into a better direction. And we did do that in this case here in California. It was, I believe, 2 years ago now, Stanford Children's Hospital. The little girl was 4 at the time, and she barely made it out alive because they were killing her body with all the medications. They were using drug cocktails that A, had never been approved for children, and B, had never been approved to use in the cocktail forms that they were using. But the doctors, right, because the doctors... so here's something you need to understand. When you walk into a hospital and sign their consent form, you give up your rights. You can no longer decide, I don't want this or that medication. If they want to give it to you, they have the rights to do that. And that came down in a case 3 months ago. The jury sided with the pharmaceutical industry in the hospital. And there was a little girl that they killed in... I want to say it's Wisconsin. The case is Shara versus whatever that hospital was. You can look it up. She was an 18-year-old girl with Down syndrome. Her parents did not consent to some of the treatments that they were trying to give her in the hospital for COVID. The hospital gave them anyways, and then the hospital, without the family's consent, switched her to do not resuscitate.
What does it mean?
DNR, do not resuscitate. That means if you stop breathing or if your heart stops, they will not step in to try to revive you. So in that situation, they went against the consent of the family. They turned her into a DNR, and then they removed the machines that were keeping her alive, and she passed away. The jury ruled that the hospital, due to the contract that they had signed, had the rights to do that because the contract stated that you're no longer required to get informed consent from people once you sign that contract. So people... That's
in the contract when you sign, when you administer?
When you enter the hospital. When you enter a hospital as a patient and you sign their consent form, you give up your rights to consent.
Any hospital?
Every hospital. Now, most hospitals will still honor consent of the families because that's our ethical duty. But in this little girl's case, they did not. And it turned out that they didn't have to. So, and it's even more like that with children because children are under the age of 18. They're not considered an adult able to make their own decisions, and the hospitals deem that they as practitioners have more authority than a parent in a scenario where the child's life is potentially in danger. The parent doesn't have the expertise to make decisions on the behalf of the child, so they will remove the rights of the parent and do whatever they see fit.
This tyranny.
It's
I
tragedy.
I would say this is the worst thing that could ever happen to a parent.
Yes.
Being stripped of parental rights,
The
they take away
families.
your kid and they treat him the way they want to treat it.
The families that I've worked with are extraordinarily traumatized to this day. The family, the child, they will never recover. It has a life-lasting impact on the families going through situations like this, which is why I always recommend that people understand, how to protect themselves contractually. So there are documents that you can sign and notarize. So these are things that you should have signed and notarized on hand in case an emergency happens, so that if you end up in an emergency, you can present these documents to the hospital and let them know that you do not give consent. That's the other thing I would do say
So
too.
you print
Do
out
not-
the special document when you getting administered.
Yes, in advance. Also, just do not sign the consent form at the hospital. You don't have to sign that form.
They will administer you anyways.
They will try, but without that consent form, they don't have the legal protection. And they're going to
But
try.
they will help you.
They will help you. Yes, they have to help you. In the United States, we have a law that states that any person who shows up at the hospital and needs help, the hospital needs to help them. The hospital is violating their legal jurisdictions if they don't.
Even if you don't have any insurance.
Correct.
Even if you're homeless,
Exactly.
immigrant, illegally, no, doesn't matter, right?
If you show up at the hospital and you need help, the hospitals need to help you. So you don't have to sign that contract. You don't have to. And they're going to manipulate you all they want to try and tell you that you do. But you really don't. And so, I mean, especially with children. So as an adult, you can sign that contract with all rights reserved. And you can also bring in some other notarized documents, and it will help to make sure that they don't remove your rights. But with children, because of, again, that relationship between, the minor and the doctor versus the minor and the parent, the state will give the doctor superior jurisdiction. So, and even in those scenarios, even not signing the contract may or may not protect you, because really it's a legal battle. And
well, I kind of can understand the state and the judges, because let's say there is a parent that brings
Correct.
the child and he has just to take antibiotics and he says, no, we're not going to do that anymore.
Right.
I get it.
Yes.
But still there is like case upon case upon case. You have to see it, whether you truly need help or you don't.
Correct.
Or let's say I get administered to the hospital, and let's say in order to save your life, you're gonna have to cut off your leg in a week or two. So maybe I'm gonna see another doctor
Right.
to hear another opinion.
Yes.
Before me getting chopped my leg off.
Yes. So that's my advice to parents. If you ever get into a situation where you're in a hospital and you get any signals from the hospital that they don't want to honor your wishes as the parent, and find a middle ground, because this is what it always usually is. You're right. There are some circumstances where there are parents who are unfit, and in those circumstances, the state needs to take control of the situation potentially. But in most scenarios,
It's such a thin line.
yes, in most scenarios, what it actually is that the hospital doesn't really listen to the family. The doctors, they think that they know better. And so they stop listening to the families, and you lose that relationship of that trust relationship between the patients and the doctors. And they stop honoring each other's roles. And so if you ever get into that kind of a situation in a hospital, my best advice to you is to demand transfer. Find a reason, consult somebody who specializes in advocacy, find a reason, and just transfer to a different hospital. You have the right to request a transfer. The sooner you do it, the better. Okay. So here's where people need to understand. If you develop a reputation with that hospital as being a parent who doesn't want to do what the hospital is telling you to do, the hospital is going to tell all those other transferring hospitals, oh, this is just a a bad parent who's uncompliant and all of this other stuff, right? So you're setting yourself up to enter into the next hospital with the same kind of reputation. So the best thing to do is to just very subtly and calmly try one time to assert your wishes as the parent. And if you think for certain that you know what's best and the hospital's not honoring, and again, seek expertise, right? Find a health advocate, Remnant Nursing, Remnant Healthcare. That's one of the companies that I work with that specializes in advocacy. And there are many others. You can get advocates for free even through a couple of advocacy organizations. I think they'll come up if you just Google them. I don't remember the names offhand now, but you can speak with a medical health advocate and just say, hey, this is what they're trying to do with my kid. Does that sound right? Or is there alternatives? And as long as you honor the doctors and don't pick fights with them, and you very delicately kind of tiptoe around the issues of trying to figure out whether they're going to respect you as the parent and guardian of that child, hopefully you can find your way through it. And if you notice signals that that's not going to happen, just immediately ask for a transfer before they can judge you, before they can start making up stories about how you are an unfit parent. Just ask for a transfer to a different hospital. Get a health advocate on your side to help you navigate the situation and see what we can do to, save the life of the child and prevent injury. All of that started within 1 week of the rollout of the COVID vaccine to the public. So I was witnessing, both of us independently contacted our management and said, hey, we're seeing a dramatic increase in drug side effect. We need to document this so that it can be recorded and researched. My friend, she was actually told, if you report these side effects, we will fire you. I was told, no, we can't report those because we cannot prove that they are being caused by the vaccines. I was receiving 3 to 4 phone calls a day from my staffing department begging me to come to work every single day. What does that mean? They were desperate for staff. This hospital has had 3 times more admissions than we've ever had since the hospital opened their doors. I went and spoke to all of our city officials publicly, and I told them what was happening in the hospitals, and I informed everybody about the things that nobody wanted to report on, and I got silenced there too. Do you know how many people I met who they themselves or their partners were targeted and destroyed for curing cancer? A practitioner who was curing cancer, they didn't want him to continue working because his work was changing the world, so they set him up. Videos planted on his computer.
Child porn.
Yes, I am of value enough to tell the truth no matter what the cost.